Hi everyone, my name is Opal. It's really nice to meet you. I'm a 2D Vtuber, and I figured out how to rig hands. So I want to teach you this so you too can rig hands for your own 2D Vtuber model. This video series did take a lot of time and work for me to make, so if you do find it useful, it would mean a lot to me if you could like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as well as follow me on Twitch. Also, to stay up to date on my future projects, as well as when I stream, feel free to join my Discord channel as well. I'll put a link in the description below for both my Twitch page and Discord channel for your convenience. To start off with rigging the arms, you notice that there is a black line right here, right where the wrist meets the hand. So that's something that's a very easy fix, and I'll show you how. What you need to do is locate all of the forearm pieces, and we're going to change the draw order. Right now it's at 500. Let's increase it by 100. That doesn't seem like it's enough, so one more time, and that black line is completely gone from view. Next, we're going to focus on the rigging of the arm movements with the hands. Right now, the hand is kind of floating and doing its own thing, and the arm is not attached to it at all. So that's what we're going to be focusing on in this video. To start off, let's focus on the forearm. So what's important is that we take every single art piece or texture pertaining or related to the forearm. So for me, that is the forearm itself, including the scales. So if I click this, shows me where the scales are, as well as the forearm piece, and you need to make a warp deformer. So we're going to call it Forearm Hand Right Position XY Warp. Press create, and it's giving me an error here. It says please create an object with the same parent deformer selected. Okay, so what that's essentially saying is right now the scales have a set deformer already, and the forearm piece itself that it is set on top of doesn't have that deformer, the same hierarchy. So an easy fix to that is this. What I want you to do is I want you to click on the forearm right up piece if you are using my asset, or whatever art texture or mesh you are using for your forearm. Create a warp deformer. We're just going to call it forearm piece right. Create, and that's going to put it upwards to where the scales are. So to create this next parameter, what we have to do is we have to select this deformer and create another warp deformer, and it'll work this time because we're clicking the two deformers which are on the exact same level or hierarchy instead of this scales piece, as well as the actual forearm piece that are on different hierarchies before. Now they're on the same. So again, we are going to call this Forearm Hand Right Position XY Warp. Create. Perfect, so that's ready. We're going to do one more, except it's going to be a rotation deformer, and we're going to call it Hand Right Position XY Location, and that will be for forearm. Create. Perfect, so both of these are set up. Again, utilize the control button on your keyboard to move this to a place where it makes sense. Just gonna move it a little bit, turn it just to make sure there isn't any weird bulges or anything weird going on. A little bit lower. Okay, I'm happy with that. That is perfect. Now that we got these two deformers set up, we are ready to begin our rig. We're going to focus on the rotation deformer first, so click on that. Click on the hand right position X parameter, make 3 keyforms, and we are going to start by bringing this to -10. We're going to turn this to about there, and we are just going to move it up slightly until it meets. Little bit more. Okay, that looks good. Same with the other side. Bring this to +10, turn it, and bring it up a little bit just so it connects. And that looks good. Next, let's focus on the hand right position Y. Make sure this is selected. Make 3 keyforms. So bringing it down here, we're only just going to bring it down a little bit. So press and hold shift, just bring it down a little bit, not a whole lot. And we are going to bring it to +10, and we are going to press and hold shift and bring this arm piece up until it connects. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so now let's work on this deformer. So this deformer is responsible for kind of squishing all these art pieces in response to where the hand is moving. So what I want you to do is we're going to create 3 keyforms, bring it all the way down to -10 on the hand right position Y, and we are just going to squish this all the way down here to kind of give the illusion that the forearm is going forward towards us. That looks good. Finish it off by clicking the hand right position X and adding 3 keyforms as well. Okay, now that these parameters are done so far, you notice when you connect these by pressing this little chain, it does weird things. The hand's kind of detaching from the forearm and it looks really funny. I'm going to show you how to fix that. To do that, we need to use the warp deformer that we've created. And what we need to do is, you can keep these connected, that's fine. Move this red dot all the way to the top right hand corner. And this is extremely important. What you're going to do is you're going to press and hold Control-Shift-C, and that's to copy this keyform right here. And we're going to use Control-Shift-V to paste it to this keyform here. And in doing that, we are going to change this keyform for it being squish back into this, what it's supposed to look like. So it no longer does this weird bouncing motion. So let's begin. We're going to press and hold Control-Shift-C. Bring the red dot all the way down, Control-Shift-V, and there you have it. All fixed. So let's continue and do the exact same thing for the other side. Control-Shift-C, bring this down, Control-Shift-V. And that's already looking a whole lot better. You notice when you move the hand kind of around in this area, you notice that it's kind of moving around and it doesn't really look super clean. We can do that by adjusting the location using the Location Deformer. Unlink these, click on the hand right position X, click this box, make two keyforms at -5 and +5, press OK. You may connect these once again, and this will give you more keyforms to work with just so you can refine the hand movement. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to put the red dot here to start, and we're just going to turn it inwards here so it looks better. Okay, that looks good. And we're going to do the exact same thing here. We're going to move it to the other side here. We're going to move this so it looks better. That looks good. Perfect. I'm happy with that. Next, let's move on to the upper arm itself. What you need to do is you need to click the upper arm just to locate where that art piece is. And here it is right here, upper arm right up. And what we need to do is the exact same thing that we did for the forearm, is create two deformers. The first one, we're going to make it very similar to the one for the forearm, except it's going to be for upper arm. So this is a warp deformer, so upper arm hand right position XY warp, create, and we're going to do one more, but it's going to be a rotation, and we're going to call it upper arm hand right position XY location, create. And again, just make sure you use the control button on your keyboard to move it to a spot that makes sense for you. Okay, so I notice when I'm trying to make adjustments here, it looks like this lower forearm here is just kind of getting in the way. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to make this disappear from view. And that's super simple to do. Just locate it and press this I for the, it depends if you're using my asset or if you are using your own, how it's named. I just have to click this one folder's I instead of every single folder within this overarching folder, and it disappears from view. There, it's gone. We don't have to worry about it for now. So now that it's gone, I have a better view of how that looks. Okay, I'm happy with that. That is good. Now we can focus on making sure the upper arm moves in unison to the forearm itself. To begin our rig with our upper arm, there's a few things we need to do first. Firstly, I want to make sure that I can see kind of where the upper arm is attached to the shoulder. And on this asset, we have clothes in a way. It depends, what kind of clothing or what objects or whatever you have on your asset. For this one, it's just a shirt. So I'm just going to hide that from view. Perfect. And next, so the body right now doesn't have any art mesh assigned to it really, so I'm going to automatically make one just for the sake of time. I'm going to do heavy, and then okay. I'm going to click this up here, and then for division, and that just increases the number of dots we have available, and this will be important for the next step. Press this check mark. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is called glue. No, we're not actually putting glue onto the screen. That's just what it's called in this program. If you don't know what glue is or how to use it, please study up on that before you proceed, or else just follow along as best as you can. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail as to how it works, what it does, and how to do it. I'm just going to be using glue just to illustrate how it is done to connect the shoulder just for this arm rig, nothing more. Let's begin the gluing process. Before I do that, I'm just going to go into here, and I'm just going to move these little dots around just so they're not overlapping too far off, because this is where the armpit's going to be. Okay, that looks fine for now. And I'm going to do the same with the arm. Just going to move the dots just so they're not overlapping onto the body. Okay, so that looks like that is good there. Perfect. Next, I am going to grab this part, which is the body, press and hold shift, and select the arm piece as well, and press this button once again. Now we can work on exclusively these two pieces. I want to copy all these little dots onto this part here, so I'm just going to take this eraser, adjust the size by pressing and holding B, and dragging this on the screen to increase the size of the eraser, and I'm just going to take away these dots. That's looking good. Maybe one more here. Then maybe I'll just take these dots and I'll kind of move them away like this. Okay, that looks good. Perfect. I'm just going to use this tool and reconnect some of these pieces. Just so it looks a little bit more clean. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select, using this lasso tool, all these dots here. I'm going to use the shortcut on my keyboard, Control C, copy all these dots, click on the body here, Control V, and all these dots get pasted, and that is great. So next I'm going to connect this part here to all these meshes, and I'll be using this tool to do that. If you are using your own asset and not the one purchased from me, yours will look different, but the principle is the exact same. Okay, that looks good. All right, so now I'm going to select both of these by pressing and holding Shift. I'm going to use the lasso tool to select all the dots here. And I'm going to click Bind. Perfect, now our glue is set up. Next step in the glue process is I want to be able to see what's going on here. So I'm going to click this just so I can take this red dot and move it out of the way. That moves this away just so I can see the upper arm clearly. Okay, and you're gonna see what I mean here. We need to fix this mesh so when this turns, it doesn't do weird things. Yeah, it looks really cursed, so we're gonna fix that. So I'm gonna click on this piece here. And see how there's really harsh yellow to red and yellow to green? I'm just going to make it so it is not as harsh, and that'll help with the clipping of the shoulders. So just slowly do this and make the adjustment. If you make a mistake, you can always redo. It's not a big deal. That's looking better, but we're not quite there yet. So just keep playing with the glue until it doesn't make too much of an impact when moved. Let's do a little more. Okay, that should be fine. If you want to further refine it, you can. For the sake of this tutorial and for what we're doing, we don't have to move the forearm a whole bunch. Just make sure that when it's closed like this, it's not too bad, as well as when it moves, it's more smooth. If you have clothes and if this is going to be covered up, you don't have to worry about it as much. You can keep refining this if you like. It is not a big deal with what we have right now. And I'm happy with the glue there. Again, you can keep refining it if you wish. Now that we have our glue set up and you're happy with how it looks when the shoulder moves, we can finally move on to rigging the X and Y position of the shoulder when the rest of the arm moves, just so it's not detached. Let's start with the rotation deformer when this moves, and we will do so by focusing on the X parameter here. So click on the hand right position X, make sure that the rotation deformer for the shoulder is selected. Select 3 keyforms, bring it to the left here, and we're just going to move it a little bit. There we go. Same for the right. to move just a little bit. Great. And we are just going to do the same for the Y here. 3 keyforms. And we don't have to do any movement for this, that is good, but make sure you have the 3 keyforms here because that is important when we connect both the hand right position X and Y. Next, use the upper arm hand right position XY warp. So this warp deformer for the forearm, that's going to help us squish the art pieces. Click on the hand right position X, 3 keyforms, and we are just going to grab the bottom here and just squish it up like this. And we are going to do the exact same thing once it's in the side here. Squish it up. And that looks pretty good. Okay, let's focus on the Y. Put 3 keyforms here and bring it to -10. And we are just going to move it slightly down. And we're going to bring it to +10. And we are going to bring this slightly up like this. And then for the rest of the way, we are just going to be using this bottom section. So grab all the green pieces and just bring them up like this. And connect it to the forearm so it looks good. Perfect. So now the shoulder and the upper arm is moving as one cohesive movement with the forearm and the hand itself. To end off this video, I'm going to be showing you how to rig movement of clothes, such as a sleeve, that sort of thing, to go along with the arm movement and shoulder. For this example, I don't have a whole lot of movement going on in the shoulder itself, just a little bit. And also, if you do not have clothes or details on the shoulders, you may go ahead and skip this step. But for those of you that are curious or interested, I'm going to show you how to do it. If you're using my asset, what I want you to do is locate the t-shirt arms up. Not the t-shirt arms down, the arms up, and just click on all of these and make sure they are all visible, and that will bring it into view, which is excellent. There's one problem right now though. It looks like the shirt itself, the texture, is behind the texture or art piece of the upper arm. We can do that by fixing the draw order. Select all the pieces for the t-shirt up, and we're going to change the draw order. I'm going to increase it by, let's increase it by 1. That should be plenty. All right. Next thing we need to do is we need to create art meshes. I'm just going to create auto, and I'm going to make this heavy. That should be good. Okay. All right, that's looking good. So now that we have meshes prepared and all that sort of thing, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to use the exact same method for connecting the sleeve of this t-shirt. See how it disappears and reappears? It's completely separate to the rest of the t-shirt. I'm going to connect the sleeve to the body of the t-shirt in a way that it will still showcase the movement, but not impact the rest of the t-shirt itself. So I am just going to utilize the exact same method for the glue. I'm not going to go through in detail and explain step by step, but I will show you the whole process. Just follow along as best as you can, but it is the exact same principle as I showed you before with connecting the shoulder to the rest of the body. Great, now that the glue is finished, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on rigging the t-shirt so it moves with the arm and the shoulder movements. So we're going to locate that piece, and I'm going to create a warp deformer, and we're going to call it t-shirt sleeve right hand right position XY. Create, and now we are set up to rig. Click on the hand right position X, make 3 keyforms, bring it all the way to the left, and you can go ahead and just move it a little bit. You can also use a rotation deformer, the same thing as the arm, but I find I have more control in this case if I use the warp deformer instead, just for the t-shirt. Okay, move. Oh, don't want to rotate it. Move it out a little bit like this. Same here, move this out here a little bit. Doesn't have to be extreme movements, just to kind of illustrate that the shirt sleeve is moving with the shoulder. Okay, that looks good. Let's do the same thing, hand right position Y, 3 keyforms, and this one's going to be a lot more subtle, so bringing it down here, I'm just going to make it go down a little bit. Okay, that looks good, and we're going to do the opposite with it going up. We are just going to squish it up a little bit, like so. And that should give the illusion of movement of the t-shirt sleeve. And that looks good. If you've been following along, you are now at the point where you have a fully rigged right arm that moves along with your clothing. There's no physics rigged. That's something you can do on your own and play around with. But you can move all the parts, all of the parameters. You can do, the peace sign. Because no matter where you move it, it should make sense. And you should be very proud of yourself because most of the hard work is now done.